Hi, this is a visual presentation of Team 3's research on the topic of Australian bushfire. We'll be covering on the issues, severity, indigenous community that is or might be affected in the future, local preventive measures, and a brief history of fire mitigation technique.
According to Bentley and Penman, bushfire is defined as a natural catastrophe that occurs frequently in varying ecosystems, creating obstacles for land administration activities to lessen the risk of casualties caused by it for both humans and the environment. The severity of the disaster can be seen from last year's statistics. 16 people in New South Wales alone died as of January 2020. One person was missing. More than 140 bushfires were burning. 1,365 homes confirmed to be destroyed, and approximately 3.6 million hectares burned, greater than the size of Belgium. According to a comparison of disaster cost estimates, major Australian bushfires during 1967 until 2013 resulted over 8,000 direct injuries and 433 direct fatalities. The cost amount up to $4.7 billion. Here are some recent disasters involving bushfires. 2006 December bushfire was the longest continuously burning bushfire in Victoria. Fortunately, due to proper evacuation and mitigation procedure, only one fatality and several minor injury cases was reported. 2009 Black Saturday bushfire recorded the highest death in history, which is 173. Over
There are existing treatments that can be used to reduce burn probability and fire size, but with high financial cost. However, the impact exposure to fire to property and koala habitat will remain high within asset areas due to remaining high fuel loads found in the area. Extra complementary strategies beyond landscape fuel reductions are needed to curb the impact from exposure to bushfires.
Hello everyone. Now I will talk about the location of the rank band. From point stand, firstly, rank band is 220 kilometers south of Sydney. It belongs to Canberra, and it is located 2 kilometers south of James Bay Airport and 6.6 kilometers from James Bay Village. Secondly, it has 198 people in the 2011 census. Finally, its division is mainly an Australian Aboriginal community, managed by the Sangam Bay Aboriginal Community Committee, and this lands from part of Borden James Bay landscape. Therefore, it is closely related to the culture, history, and heritage of the whole James Bay area. Next, I will give some specific geography ranking, which will be divided into three parts, namely the topographic features of Rugby, plants, and temperature changes to analyze the solution. Okay, according to the Rugby, an Aboriginal community, it is located between the ocean and the bush, with some hills below. As we all know, when there is a fire, uphill and downhill will affect the development of the fire speed. Here, there are hills in the rugby, which means that the layout the house needs to be considered in combination with this factor. Of course, there are also temperature, the wind. Okay, let's move on the temperature change in the rugby. We can see the chart. Compared with the rest of Australia, the temperature, wind speed, rainfall, humidity, and cloudy days of the sharp rugby are higher than the average. The temperature is the daytime is lower than the average value. The number of the Sundays is the average value in the summer. The highest temperature is 22.9 to 23.9 degree, and the lowest temperature at night is 16.3 to 18 degree. The weather in summer is mild, but the wind can moderate cool down. In winter from the June to August, the average daily maximum temperature is 15.1 to 16.2 9.1 degree, and the average night minimum temperature is 9.2 to 10.1 degree. The winter temperature of the ship Rugby is moderate, but if it is windy, they may be moderate cold, down to about 15.1 degree. Because of the wind, we should consider the wind direction, as the house should be built in the direction against the wind. Let's turn to plant flammability at Rugby. As I mentioned before that Rugby has a bush, so there will be plants. I found some plants they are not easy to burn in there, such as coastal salt bush, spring salt bush, and so on. By the way, if you want to see the full chart, you can click the following in the link. Thank you. The people can build a house next to these plants that are not easy to burn. Of course, bridges should also consider whether the plant accessory have aggressive animals and plants for construction. Now, I'm gonna have the overall tuning to talk about next part.
Whigby Aboriginal Community Council. Under the Aboriginal Land Grant Act 1986, the Council has a number of functions which fall into the main categories of land holding and management. Provision of community service for its members and business enterprise. There have some benefits of the community, such as to provide the community service to members of the community, to protect and conserve natural and cultural seeds on Aboriginal land, to engage in land use planning in relation to Aboriginal land, to manage and mention Aboriginal land as well, to conduct the business enterprise of the economic or social benefit of the community. Have Whigby been affected by bushfire in the past? Actually, there have lots of bushfire before. Even 3 months ago, the fire brigade and volunteers only ended up to 6 to 7 months to put off the fire. 2020, July 10, the National Endangered Time reported the weakness of fire brigade and volunteer in front of the forest fire. 2017 September 14, one suspicious fire happened in Whigby. Because of the terrain belong to the forest web village, once a fire occurs, it will definitely harm the village and even burn to the village first. The terrain of the Whigby is more prone to fire, and fire alarm information is usually seen in the daily life. So what's the governmental or humanitarian organization that added the scenario? The first one, I think, is the Bushfire Customer Service. This service center is the Australian largest and the most core service center to solve fire problem. And the second is the Red Cross. I think everybody will know it. And third one is the volunteer fire brigade. If you want to do a volunteer to fight with the fire, you have to know the knowledge about that. And of course, the bushfire customer service will teach you about that. The fourth one is angel care. I think the angel care is not very popular, but their more responsibility to help more refugees who have lost their homes and environmental pollution after the fire improve. And the final one is the ACT Emergency Service Agency. The local government's role in Whigby for bushfire. The first one is UNSW Rural Fire Service. It's just same like bushfire customer service, and they have to get the phone call from the resident and connect the Whigby Rural Fire Brigade to fight with the fire. The second, of course, is Whitby Rural Fire Brigade. The third is the Bushfire volunteer. They have to help the brigade. Also, they have to help the residents to evacuation. The fourth is Fire and Rescue UNSW. It's an important service center. I will talk about that later. The fifth is the aerial firefighting. This is a new way to fight with the fire, and we found some information about that. The firefighting and evacuations in Whitby and also in Australia. The brigade hazard reducing the burning. Also, they have the response to the residents' evacuation. Of course, it depends on how big in this fire. The volunteer, of course, they have to follow the traffic police to respond to the evacuation. Of course, if they have the knowledge to fight with the fire, they have to follow the brigade to fighting. And the Red Cross have to donate the money for post-disaster reconstruction. The final one is the most important one. The Fire and Rescue UNSW service provides the daily service to teach residents to learn how to evacuation, so they can do the part if they have the.
Aerial firefighting is done to assist in fire containment during emergency. The team delivers equipment and supplies, deploys smoke jumpers and rappellers to the fire, transport firefighters in and out of the scene, drop fire retardants or water as a way to attack the bushfire or assist firefighters on land. They also ignite prescribed fires before incoming predicted disaster. Finally, in means of emergency, they map out contours and routes for land troops. This is done for situation assessment and analysis. However, there are some issues pertaining aerial firefighting as witnessed in the 2019-2020 bushfire. Due to the intensity and speed of spreading of the fire, frequent flying is needed. The schedule is taxing both physically and psychologically for the pilots. In addition, certain areas cannot just be flown over, for there is a high possibility of crashing. There is also an issue when it comes to space, as aerial firefighting requires a lot of necessary parts to be carried into the base and outside of the base. Finally, aerial firefighting has high maintenance in terms of crew, time span, and costing. In contrast with Australia's track record, the United States has done very well in handling this issue. The United States is rich in forest reserve and is also a country with frequent fires. The United States Forest Fire Protection Agency has a National Joint Fire Center that monitors and administers the national forest fire prevention work, a wildfire coordination group accountable for organizing and managing federal agency forest fire affairs, a geographical regional planning center. The center divides the country into 11 regions based on elements such as geographical climate and administrative divisions, and fire protection agencies established in each region to synchronize firefighting and disaster relief activities in the area. The Wildfire Management Program is done to provide a long-term plan for the reduction in combustible materials on both federal and adjacent land with collaboration of federal agencies, state, local and ethnic governments, and other stakeholders to achieve the goal of reducing fuel consumption. In turn, this will reduce the risk to human and important landscape, which will improve the health of forests and pastures. Incident command systems allows coordination for these programs. Just like Australia, the United States also employ aerial firefighting to assist land troops. However, in difference, there is a community mitigation assistance team. During incidents of natural disaster, Community Mitigation Assistance Team, or CMATs, work closely with incident management teams, the Forest Service or other land management agencies, community residents, and leaders to identify mitigation opportunities before a fire impacts the community during the incident. They work with local partners to identify and help them resolve mitigation challenges, build long-term mitigation efforts using best practices that they could provide. All of this is done by using risk and factor analysis, community training, home assessments, pertinent research, and close community collaboration to help communities with mitigation of all sorts. In recent years, Australian government have been cooperating with firefighters around the world, including the United States. However, there are some factors that has to be taken into account that influences the system to be adopted. Firstly, there is an issue of difference of climate. Extremity on Australia's hottest region average 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, with a long, hot, and dry summer that can last for more than 4 months. There's also an issue of terrain. Australia has mostly low plateau with deserts, fertile plain in southeast, allowing the fire to spread quicker. Finally, there's also a difference of plants housed in Australia. In Australia, there are more fire-dependent species and flammable fluids. The bushfires has high food sources in the megafauna and is harder to contain. According to Bill Gamage, the indigenous people of Australia's management of the land is far ahead than in Europe as observed by explorers in the late 18th century. The illustrations and observations of the land at that particular era indicated the use of fire as universal, as a tool for landscaping, farming, agricultural, and as a method to deter natural disaster due to extreme climate. However, the practice of plant fire is banned since 1788. Ever since the 18th century, disasters involving bushfires have become more frequent and the area affected by it have been bigger. Here are some known facts on cultural burning, or cool burning. Land management by indigenous people observed in the 18th century was done in such precision that takes into account the range of fire, the degree of it, location of the activities, and plant specification such as fire sensitivity, animal dietary, and fire resistance. Cool burning is not done just for fire mitigation, it is also done to conserve the environment. Patches of land is burned in a mosaic pattern using small fire. This is done to lessen the impact on the environment, as this practice produces smaller smoke, burn only shrubs and leaves, which causes the fire to be slow spreading. Identification of the plants, especially the habitats of the environment before the burning, is as crucial as the season and the weather. This practice produces fertile soil for agricultural use after the burning. The fire has to be small and slow spreading, for this allows the time for animals to take shelter and for the land to heal. Current methods employ hazard reduction using hot burning. Prescribed burns using hot burning have escaped containment lines and destroyed houses, such as at the Margaret River in Western Australia in 2013 and Lancefield, Victoria in 2015. To prevent a repeat of this, policies require burns only proceed when the weather is suitable, not just on the day, but for 3 to 5 days afterwards. Due to this policy, many burns do not go ahead or are delayed for years. This costs us in terms of planning and delays. As you can see, this is a comparison of cool burning and hot burning. The aim of cool burning is to reduce fuel load that is coming from grasses and shrubs, at the same time allowing the ecosystem to heal itself afterwards. The slow fire is intended to allow animals and other creatures to find shelter. Hot fire at times escape its intended height as the heat reaches out to big logs and canopy trees. Here are some of the challenges outlined in adopting indigenous cultural burning. There is a concern on the need for repeated burning. With current erratic climate change pattern, will it be effective? The knowledge on this practice can only be gained from knowledgeable indigenous experts. Customary laws and precise ritualistic practice must be followed thoroughly. Finally, there is a concern that cool burning is not suitable on wet area or high humidity area. Hopefully, through this course, we'll understand better what we will have to do in regards for these challenges. Thank you very much.